All right. Greetings, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy 30. Specifically today, looking at the truth behind AI malware. I'm your host, Ben Baker, Director of Content here at Expel, and this is our 6th episode of the series. We have episodes on the state of the MDR market, how to measure your SOC, even how to study for cybersecurity certs. You can check out all of those at our YouTube channel, which I have right here. youtube.com/@expelsecurity. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to our LinkedIn page because here you're going to hear about all the upcoming Nerdy 30s that we have this year, and there will be many. In fact, we have an upcoming Nerdy 30 on our own philosophy behind how we decide where to deploy AI into our own security operations here at Expel. Again, that will likely be announced later this week, but if you subscribe to and follow our LinkedIn page, you'll get more information about that once it rolls. All right, before I tee up our topic and intro our guests, let me first address the format here. Like I said, this is something we call the Nerdy 30. It is 30 minutes on a nerdy topic. After I intro our guests, I'm going to put a timer on the screen counting down from 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, an alarm will go off, and at that point, the discussion will be over. Anything left to be said, we'll find a way to say it in a blog or anything like that, but it won't be here. However, I will say this, as we go through the discussion, if you have any questions or comments, though we may hold those to the end, we'll likely choose a couple at the end and then address the rest of the blog. And in fact, I think we discussed this. We're going to do an extended Q&A session for this session since there's so much to be discussed. And so we're going to take the full hour. We're going to talk on the topic for 30 minutes, and then we're going to do a full Q&A at the end. So if you have any questions or comments, please drop those into the comments, and we'll hold those to the end. By the way, you can subscribe to our blog at expel.com/blog. Just go to that page, and you'll see a subscribe button in the top right. Don't worry, we won't hound you with marketing emails. I know I'm in marketing, but I promise you we won't. You'll literally get one email a week with a roundup of everything that we posted that week. It's typically 2 to 3 blogs with links to each. All right, on to the topic. Today, we're talking all about AI malware, which, depending on where you get your news, is either the end of cybersecurity as we know it, or, and I cannot stress this enough, a slightly faster version of the things that attackers were already doing. The truth is likely somewhere in the middle, and it's a lot less cinematic. As a matter of fact, our most recent yearly threat report we published about a month ago showed that last year we basically saw attackers improve upon traditional techniques that they've already been using for years. Again, AI-generated phishing, real. AI-assisted code, real. Fully autonomous AI malware that's going to Leroy Jenkins straight into your environment, destroy the world. Maybe not. But again, our hope today is to cut through the noise and have a conversation about what's actually happening versus the hype. The reality is we've been preparing for this session for a few weeks now, and the goalpost seems to shift on AI by the day. So we're hoping to shine some light here in our current moment. Also, let me do this. While we intro our guests, I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So post in the chat. If you're listening, post in the chat about what you think. Just put a number in there on a scale from 1 to 10. 1 being business as usual, nothing to worry about, and 10 being, as Lloyd Christmas says in Dumb and Dumber, we've got no food, got no jobs, and our pets' heads are falling off. Where do you think the risk of AI-driven malware is for organizations moving forward? Again, 1 is sort of business as usual, 10 is the apocalypse, and 5 is maybe cautious, but waiting to see. So, all right, let me intro our guests. Aaron Walton. Let me invite Aaron Walton in here. Hey, Aaron, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well.
Aaron is a threat intel analyst at Expel, responsible for monitoring, tracking, and analyzing trends to help customers disrupt their adversaries. When he's not at his computer, he is often playing Irish flute at a local pub, a fact that I will never tire of saying about our friend Aaron here. And second, someone that many of you likely know, Marcus Hutchins. Hey, Marcus, how are you? Marcus, cybersecurity specialist, speaker, ex-hacker, best known for stopping the global WannaCry ransomware attack. and was also featured on the cover of Wired magazine back in June of 2020. Marcus, welcome. Oh, you're on mute.
I am indeed on mute. How is it going?
Hello. Good to see you. All right, thanks guys for joining us. Let's get going. Let me throw the timer up here, and then we'll get to the questions. All right. Oh, that's a big timer. There we go.
That's a very large timer.
Now we're talking. All right. Let me point this one to Marcus first, and I'm just gonna step back and let you guys cook. Again, you're the brains. I am the dancing monkey over here. AI has been a real talking point in cybersecurity for years, but here with the advent of Gen AI and all of this accelerating technology, the hype versus reality gap in this space seems enormous. It seems to be getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Where do things actually stand right now? Like, are we closer to AI malware being a genuine threat, or are we still mostly in the headline phase, or maybe in between? Where are we?
I think we're in. I would actually say neither of those or any of those. I think we're in a space where malware is obviously a threat. So, sort of by default, AI malware is a threat because malware is a threat. But I don't think we're coming to the point where AI malware is a greater threat than regular malware. So I think there's all these headlines of we're going to get like these super hackers. We're going to get this self-mutating, self-rewriting malware that's just going to blast straight through traditional security protections. That is not what we're seeing. That is not what we're predicting. Most of pretty much everything we're seeing on a daily basis is just threat actors are using AI to write their code a little bit faster. And that has really very little effect on the actual, the target, right? The threat actors aren't getting into your network and then starting writing their malware, and you have as long as it takes them to write their malware to kick them out. They're writing the malware ahead of time. So whether it took them 3 months or 3 hours doesn't really tip the scale in any meaningful way.
Aaron, would you agree? Is that what you're seeing as well?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You're definitely seeing it enable them to run those attacks. But we're not seeing like the new that AI is able to do. I mean, because it's not able to do new things. It's primarily rehashing old things to be able to allow you to do that. And I think when I typically hear about people being afraid of AI, it's really that like new thing, as if AI is going to break the laws of how computers work or how networks work and those types of things, as if those weren't barriers. But the reality is that malware, whether written by a human or by AI, is constrained as to how it needs to function.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's accelerating what attackers were already doing is sort of what we're seeing. That's sort of what I'm hearing. Is that correct? Marcus, am I stating that correctly?
I don't think we're seeing a massive acceleration. Like, we're not seeing acceleration on the in like the volume of attacks or in how fast attacks are being pulled off. It's just on the back end somewhere, someone might be writing that malware faster, but that doesn't really translate into any sort of meaningful impact on the target's end. I think some people have different takes. There are arguments that certain things are being done faster. You mentioned phishing in the intro. It's not hard to predict that being able to automatically write phishing emails would lead to higher volume phishing campaigns. But with malware, volume has never been the issue, right? We've had attackers making botnets of like hundreds, thousands, millions of machines. That was not a capability limitation prior to AI. And I don't see it being a capability limitation that AI needs to solve.
That makes sense. The title is fact versus fiction. So if that is the fact, what would the fiction side of that be? Like, what are some of the craziest sort of headlines that you've seen around, what are people saying AI is going to cause within cybersecurity, if that is the reality?
So the one that I'm seeing, that I have been seeing and getting annoyed by the most, is this idea of AI polymorphic malware. For those of you who don't know, polymorphic malware is malware that rewrites its own code. So people are saying like, well, AI can write code, right? And self-rewriting malware is like self-rewriting code. So surely an AI model can automatically rewrite code. And that is 100% correct, except what the part that they're missing is that self-rewriting code is kind of a solved issue. We got rid of static signature-based antiviruses for that reason, right? We moved on to like behavioral-based detections because looking at how does the code look isn't very useful if someone can just change a couple of bytes and now that signature is invalid. So you've got all of these behavioral detections that are looking at like, what is the malware actually doing? Like what files are it accessing? What processes are it interfering with? And whether we can rewrite the malware 1,000, a million, a billion, a gazillion times per second has very little effect on that process. And like to continue on that, threat actors have been doing this since before AI. Like building self-rewriting code is not a technique that requires AI, and it's not even really made easier by AI. Those technologies already exist. They work very, very well. They're for sale on the underground markets. So there isn't really a reason for threat actors to implement a worse version of an existing technology just because it uses AI.
Yeah, for sure. Aaron, anything to add on that? What are you seeing? Are you seeing anything else in terms of maybe the fiction that people are maybe afraid of when it comes to AI malware? Did Marcus sort of capture that?
I think the biggest fiction is like the evasiveness or how low detection it might be, because what we largely see is attackers leaving a lot of comments within the scripts that they're running. We're seeing a lot of those easily reversed by AI itself. Just yesterday, I had a script that was heavily obfuscated that was able to deobfuscate within 30 seconds or something. But it also tends to be a lot of loud stuff with the high volume of actors that are producing new malware. It tends not to be stuff that's highly evasive. It just tends to be fast and maybe gets the job done in an environment that doesn't have detections in place.
Yeah, that makes sense. Malware. Marcus, you're a malware tech. You've spent your career kind of reverse engineering malware. Have you tested these AI capabilities? Like have you sort of played around with this? Maybe testing AI to write malware. Like what did you find in kind of your testing there?
Yeah, so I found in my testing, I took two approaches to testing. I took the approach of I'm someone who has been like in the trenches of malware for 15 plus years. I've been writing it, I've been reversing it. So I took the approach of what does AI malware look like if you take someone who is very experienced with malware and then you give them AI. And then I took the other approach of, okay, I'm someone who's not very good at coding. I don't know anything about AI. I don't know anything about malware. What can I get this thing to output? Like, what would the average threat actor who AI would appeal to, what are they going to get out of this? Because there was this very, very like prominent argument that AI was going to enable unskilled threat actors to write this like amazing malware, and suddenly like your average script kiddie is going to be a nation state APT. So I took those two approaches, and what I found is that when you try to write malware while pretending to be someone who isn't familiar with coding or isn't super familiar with malware techniques, you tend to get malware that just doesn't work. Like it's very hard to get working malware out of an AI if you don't know what you're doing. And then on the sort of middle of the road end, people who can like code a bit, they know a bit about malware, you tend to run into the problem of these AIs are statistical models, right? They don't know facts and they don't know fiction. When they give you an answer, it's because they've sort of seen this thing said a lot on the internet, therefore it's true. So it's more of a consensus model than necessarily like an objective truth. And the problem with that is that makes it statistically gravitate towards commonality. And the problem with malware is you don't want commonality. You don't want the most common method of doing something malicious, because that is going to be the most detected method of doing something malicious. So I found that in the sort of middle of the road threat actor use cases, you would get a lot of malware that used a lot of very common malicious techniques that were very likely to just run headlong into the antivirus and get kicked off. But then what I did notice is like if you are like really sort of meticulous with it and you combine like deep technical knowledge, you can outsource some of the more like mundane, boring, or slow tasks to the AI and get that product just a little bit faster. I didn't find anything sort of revolutionary, whereas like, oh, the AI has done something I couldn't do, or it's come up with a new technique, or it's bypassed the detection. I just found that it could enable me to maybe do what I already do a little bit faster.
That's really interesting. I feel like you can take that same principle that you just described and apply it across any discipline, right? I feel like Gen AI is just pattern recognition and putting it together. So no surprise there that it's not developing anything novel or unique, right? It seems like it's sort of gathering the knowledge that maybe it's that we've seen for some time. It's really fascinating.
100%.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. Aaron, have you had a chance to tinker around with AI and malware? If so, like what's been your experience?
I have a little bit, but not extensively.
Yeah.
I recently came across some malware that I'm hoping to blog about later this week, in fact, where the actor had taken two file formats and basically concatenated them together to make a polyglot malware, where it was an MSI bundle that it gets executed with Mishta. So Mishta just looks through and looks for an HTML tag and then executes the code within that. But I was a little bit disappointed that their MSI bundle was not formatted correctly. So I worked with an LLM in order to build one that was formatted correctly, just to see, hey, how can I do this better than what they spent time on? And I actually had some moderate success with working that out. There were a lot of times where it didn't work straight away, but it's definitely something you can work to a point where I was able to then take over manually and start improving it.
Very cool. Marcus, hey, question for you. There have been a couple of stories that you've been pretty vocal about. Specifically, there was a research paper that came out that claimed, there were a lot of ransomware attacks were AI powered at this point, a very large number. They ended up being pooled. Like, what's the bigger problem from your perspective on how AI threats are being reported on right now? Like, is it just pure sensationalism? Like, are people just trying to capture headlines? Like, what's your point of view there?
I think it's a mix of sensationalism and I don't know what the word for this is, but confirmation bias for things that you just want to be true. Not like but in a future sense. Like, people want for AI malware to be this crazy, like, groundbreaking threat. And they're just looking for anything that will confirm that. So any report that suggests that this is coming, malware is going to be this massive threat, they'll just jump on it. And that's kind of what happened with that MIT report. It did unfortunately have the MIT name attached, which carries a lot of weight. So a lot of people didn't really sort of read it as like, they didn't take it with a grain of salt, right? Like, you should take any research paper with a grain of salt. But when it comes to those like very big, prestigious like names, people kind of tend to just like look at the headline and be like, oh, some serious researchers did this, it must be correct, right? And then when myself and some other researchers took a look at the actual substance of the paper, we found it was like not just wrong, it was outright fraud. They were making fraudulent claims and backing them up with fraudulent data. And of course, no one noticed that. And it wasn't that this was like stuff that you needed like a security researcher or like an expert in the field to actually debunk. It was making claims so insane that your average person with access to Wikipedia could have gone in there and been like, this is just wrong. Like, one of the big claims it made is that WannaCry was AI powered. WannaCry happened in 2017. The first generative AI model was released in, I think, November 2022. So, like, that's some interesting time science for WannaCry to be AI powered. And like, that was one of the first paragraphs. I just went in there and I was like, what on earth is going on here? But of course, because so many executives, they have the narrative of of AI malware is coming, so you need to buy our AI security product to fix the AI with the AI. They just jumped on it. They really needed that to be true, and they were willing to just parrot the headline, and it just sort of circulated for months and months and months until a couple of us picked up on it, and we were like, wait a minute, like not a single claim in this report is factual.
Yeah. Gotta love the hype. Gotta love the hype. I feel like we're getting a lot of that these days. Aaron, we've kind of touched on this a little bit, but one of the things I remember doing a session with you last year, we were talking about phishing as a service. And you talked about how phishing as a service was sort of allowing folks who may not be as technical to, take advantage of cyber networks and basically conduct cyber crimes, even though the AIs aren't necessarily developing novel malware. Do you foresee this enabling others and sort of broadening and allowing others to commit cyber crimes?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I'm sure there's people who have come into cybercrime just because of AI and have tried to implement new things. I think part of what comes to mind in answering that there are some novel attacks, such as attackers installing OpenClaw, where you have this tool that's installed, operated by Claude essentially, and you're able to execute commands on a victim system and then potentially install other software or exfil data from that. So we're seeing some of this innovation that's very interesting. They're still somewhat loud, and there's definitely techniques to detect them at this point. So it's not the point where they're invisible or anything of that sort. But there is risk in as much as they blend in with traffic if you're using Claude on your systems or other LLMs.
Yeah.
But also, I think we also see a lot more actors probably selling. I don't watch the dark markets, but I can definitely expect that people are selling more of their products, where someone's developed this at home and say, hey, I have this rat that can do this, and start selling those. I am expecting the dark market would probably also get flooded with those, just as much as with the clean market or the internet, how you just see so many new products coming out where there's not really a clear idea of who's adopting them or if they're being adopted at all. But definitely anyone who can put their hand to it and try to generate stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Marcus, question for you. We've talked about the hype. Setting aside the hype, what is sort of realistic worst case scenario for AI enabled attacks over the next few years? I know that maybe we can venture at this point into sort of Mythos territory, because I know you've got thoughts on Mythos as well. I think I saw that you had recently published a video around Mythos and sort of upcoming these new models that are being released. What's the worst case scenario, I guess, or and what would it actually take to get there, I guess, from your perspective?
I mean, I think the worst case scenario can be anything, right? Like there's people claiming that AIs will become super intelligent and decide to enslave humanity.
That is the worst case scenario, to be sure.
Yeah, that is I can't say that 1,000% can't happen. It's very unlikely. But if we start going into hypotheticals of what is the worst case scenario, then I'm guessing it's that, right?
Yeah.
But realistically, these LLMs specifically, they are very limited in their capabilities. They don't have world models. They can't truly think or reason. They're only doing simulated thinking and reasoning, and that caps out at a certain level. So we're probably going to see them cap out before they get to the point where they can actually replace a human operator. There's always going to need to be a human operator in the loop. Maybe you can build processes to automate things that humans would have previously done, but a human has to build those processes, unless the LLM companies build it themselves, which is kind of what we saw with Mythos. You can make full exploit development pipelines with LLMs, but you need a very sophisticated exploit developer who knows all of those processes and then can build automations for them, which include LLMs among other things. Like, it can't just be LLMs. We need to build these sort of complicated pipelines. And things like obviously Mythos exists, but for something like that to exist for malware, someone would actually have to go out there and make it, and then make it available to people. And that's kind of where I think the facts and fiction sort of diverge, because a lot of it relies on the idea that someone is going to make a model that is able to hack at like a very sophisticated level capability, and then just make that available to the public. Now, could that happen? Possibly. It would be extremely irresponsible for a frontier company to build a model like that and then just let it loose. But conceivably, it could happen. Now, when I bring this point up, people bring up like Worm GPT, which, if you don't know, Worm GPT is this like script kiddie product where they took like some open source LLM and they gave it some prompts that say, you're a super hacker, like help the hackers do hacky things. And it's like, it's still like a garbage like open source LLM, but it's like the media has been like fixated on it for months. They're like, and they will point to that whenever you say like criminals will need specialized models to do certain tasks. They point to Worm GPT, and I'm like, have you used it? Like, have you used this product? It is like, oh my God, it is like trying to paint your house with a toothbrush. It is like the most useless thing that I've ever seen. And the truth is, like, the cyber criminals, they don't have the funding, they don't have the compute power, and they don't have the researchers to build something like Mythos, but for black hats, for criminals. The nation states do. That's where the real risk is what if nation states start building these? And spoiler, they probably already have. But in terms of like cybercrime, I just don't see cyber criminals coming into possession of these kind of models unless we give them to them. And in that case, that is entirely on us, right? Like that is our fault.
Let's talk about from your perspective, Aaron, given all this discussion. And by the way, for those that are listening in, make sure you drop in your questions and we'll get to those in Q&A. I already see some dropping in. Go ahead and add those in. Aaron, given all this, what should organizations actually be doing differently right now because of AI? Like, is there anything? Is the honest answer just do the basics really well? Like, what's your take?
Yeah, there's a lot of basics that still need to be done. And that's critically important. There was a research article published this month about some Mexican government entities that were hacked. And the actor used Claude to do a lot of those operations, but realistically, they exploited primarily vulnerabilities that already existed and had known CVEs and could have been patched. And the main benefit for Claude to them was that they were able to do a lot as a singular attacker rather than needing a team, and they were able to do that pretty well in an organized fashion. They didn't have any issues realistically with Claude being opposed to what they were doing. They just told him, hey, I'm doing a bug bounty, and found other ways around it. So just doing a lot of those fundamentals of patching stuff, also implementing secure policies for your access controls, that goes a really long way. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of these realities that are true for computers and the internet that are always going to be there. And AI, if they're trying to hack or if they're trying to deploy malware, they have to operate within those realities. They can't just go around authentication or go around these other things unless there's some major vulnerability. And then even then, that's going to get everyone's attention. Everyone's going to be responding to that. Your team, if you're a security company, you're going to have to respond to that just like the rest of us. But I'm really optimistic that even with Microsoft and others investing in AI to search for those vulnerabilities, we'll also be able to have the advantage in that capacity. But it's still up to the responsibility for individual organizations to implement those fixes to ensure that their stuff is up to date.
What about you, Marcus? Any thoughts on what companies can be doing better to defend against whatever this is?
I think Aaron hit the nail on the head. Like these models are not making up like magic new cyber attacks. They're just doing what we already know that exists, and it's the same problem, right? It is just this. They're not doing the basics, as Aaron said, and I think that's just the answer. Is that we just need to actually secure against the basics. We need to secure against the attacks that the AI models are automating. Maybe someday some AI model just does magically come up with some entirely new cyber attack that we've never seen before, but it's highly unlikely, and we need to stop focusing on is that going to happen or is it not going to happen, and start focusing on what's happening now, which is that even before AI, threat actors were breaking into your network very easily.
A question for you, Marcus. You have you've spent your life researching malware and dissecting malware. Have you dissected what you know is AI generated malware? And are there tells? Like, are there tells where you know it's AI generated?
In a lot of cases, no, because it's very hard to tell if code was written by an AI or not. The only caveats are usually with certain like higher level languages that aren't compiled, because the compiler strips away a lot of like the sort of the raw design, like the raw structure of the code. But when you have languages like, say, JavaScript or C#, where we can actually see bits about how the original code looked, I've actually found it quite easy to tell when code is AI written or not. I actually have an article that should be coming out either late this week or early next week, where I actually dissect a nation state APTs malware, which was written with AI. And in I guess I can do a bit of a spoiler there. In that case, one of the biggest telltale signs was the honestly egregious use of emojis. For some reason, AI models love to just put emojis in code, which is something no sane developer does. So this code is just like, there's emojis in the comments, there's emojis in the debug output. And I'm like, what? This is like an abomination. And I'm like, but I know exactly what AI model does that. So I'm like, I was able to pinpoint the exact AI model they used just from the code.
I mean, that's a tell, if there ever was one, that there's emojis all over the code. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Aaron, have you had a chance to research and dissect any AI malware? Is that something that you've done?
Yes. I mean, part of what I tend to see is like what Marcus is describing, except there's scripts that will often be packed into executables as well. There's a few malware traffic gangs that I see using AI pretty frequently. You'll unpack the malware and then find a script that has all these comments in Russian, or also just seeing a lot of attacker infrastructure also being generated with AI, where again, you have a lot of these comments, you have these emojis in the comments, and the infrastructure is there handling the bot requests or handling the injection into websites. So we are definitely seeing a lot of those when we're poking around with attacker infrastructure.
Yeah, that's very odd. Never heard of emojis being used in code. Fascinating stuff.
That's
all
what
right.
I really loved, like when Marcus was talking about it earlier, and like programmers don't have time or even the desire to type an emoji. Like no one does that. So it's just really funny that even though AI models are trained on real code, they've just decided that emojis are the way to go.
That's very funny. All right. We got a couple questions in here. Keep sending them through. But 30 seconds left. I want y'all's ratings, Aaron and Marcus, 1 to 10. 1 being nothing to worry about, business as usual. 10 being end of the world, sky is falling, everything is terrible and on fire. Like, what's the threat of AI malware? Let's go to you first, Aaron. Give me a number.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
All right, Marcus, what about you?
I'm going to give it a 3 for current generation models, maybe a 5 for anything that comes out in the next 2 years.
Very good. And that is the end, my friends. Marcus, you got that answer in before the gong went off. So well done. All right, let's keep sending in your questions, folks. I got a couple of questions here. Let's hit some of these. So let me take this off. There we go. So Morgan, I'm going to throw this one out there first, and interested to hear the back and forth from the gang on this one. How likely is a real world Skynet-like AI scenario on a scale from 1 to 10? Give me a number.
I'm going to give it a 2.
All right.
I won't say it won't happen, but when I think of Skynet, it's going to be fully autonomous at that point, where you're in the stage with the AI overlords where they're doing all the things, they're making all the choices, they're building all the infrastructure. Maybe they've taken over all the factories that we set up with AI by that point. Maybe they're taking over all of those types of things. I can see that future happening. So I still recommend people are polite to their LLMs and not insult them.
I say please and thank you to my Google Home machine anytime I ask it for something or receive something. So yeah, that too is why. So good call, Aaron. What about you, Marcus? Give me a 1 to 10.
Oh, it's a hard one. Like, I want to say, just based on my own philosophies about the fundamental limitations of artificial intelligence, I want to say a number that is mathematically as close to 0, but not 0 as possible.
That makes me feel good on the inside.
Like, I think there's genuine risks the more we integrate AI into society and the more we delegate decisions to it. There's obviously that very famous quote about decisions should never be delegated to machines, because machines can't be held responsible. Like, there is no system to hold a computer responsible for a decision it made, because there is no decision being made. It's just doing what it's programmed to do. And I think we have to realize that we are putting these machines into very critical processes that they should not necessarily be involved in, especially like non-deterministic things like LLMs, where we could put in the same question 15 times and get 15 different answers. Like, that should not be directing air traffic control or like deciding who gets bombed in a war. But I think that is not a Skynet scenario. That's an us scenario, right? It's we did that to ourselves. We didn't put an AI and the AI went rogue and it started causing problems. We just put something that was not fit for purpose in a role that it should have never been in.
It's well said. It's well said. Got a question here from Gento. I think we hit the first part of this. I understand the commonality problem when using Gen AI to write malicious code, but how capable are threat actors using Gen AI or new techniques in codes in your research? I think we hit that one a little bit, but you can add and see if we didn't. Also, how are kill switch evasion techniques used to bypass code analysis by LLM models? If either of you, any perspective on either of those from either of you guys? Aaron, do you got anything? Or Marcus, either one. Any perspective on that one? And if not, it's cool. We can follow up in the blog.
I'd say mostly what I've seen is between slop and like mediocre. Like, I haven't seen anything that has I've been like, wow, that's incredible. But then also there is like sort of an implicit like visibility gap, which is we only see the final product. We don't know what components AI was involved in on the back end. But for the most part, we're just seeing threat actors doing what threat actors have always done, which kind of in and of itself tells us that AI is not doing anything novel, because if it was doing anything novel, we would be seeing novel attacks, which we are not.
Right.
On the second part, I'm not really sure what's meant by kill switches in this context.
Yeah. I go ahead, Aaron.
I guess I had a comment too in regards to like the new techniques. There's a real issue where you don't want to stand out too much if you're a nation state actor. It's better to blend in with normal activity or blend in with other actors. It would be better to be mistaken as like a cybercrime actor than being mistaken as a nation state or something of that sort. So there's also incentive not to build out these new techniques or get them burned. You might need to hold on to those for like very special occasions, and then that's where we're not going to see those new techniques as much. You definitely see that with, historically, some of these major nation state attacks, they've been really niche because they have this one skill they're going to implement in one situation where they need to go under the radar. And then we're lucky when we get to hear about those attacks. And I think we're not really seeing any of that novel stuff. I'm mostly seeing attackers try to blend in more, where, again, a lot of attackers are using RMM tools, remote management and monitoring tools. These are a lot of commercial things. That's often enough to fit their needs. I've seen some actors build their own. Like, that's an option as well, but nothing super novel.
Yeah. Here's a question, sort of pivoting a little bit from malware, but I know this has been in the news, and I believe, Marcus, you've shared some thoughts on this. Again, we kind of talked about this earlier, but how likely are these so-called previously undiscovered zero-day vulnerabilities that Claude Mythos will supposedly find have a significant impact on enterprises? Any thoughts on that?
I've like deliberately refrained from answering that question because the thing is, like, we just don't know what the 0 days are. Like, they described a couple, and the couple that they described were not very good. But until like I can get my hands, or someone I can get their hands on the model and feed back to me what they found, I can't really make a determination. There were some red flags in the report, like they talked about disabling the browser sandbox so that they could write easier RCEs, which in the real world, no one with any common sense is disabling their browser sandbox, because that's just asking to get hacked. A lot of the bugs were in open source software, which I consider a red flag, because open source software typically doesn't have bug bounty programs, which means there was never any financial incentive for people to report bugs in that software. So it tends to be more bug heavy than, say, like if I'm Apple or Microsoft and I'm paying like hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars for a single vulnerability. We can kind of estimate that my code might have a little less obvious vulnerabilities than if I'm paying like $0. So they did seem to like quite heavily target open source projects. But I would just want to see the capabilities. I would want to try them myself and see like what are the caliber of vulnerabilities that it can produce and how much human expertise has to go into it. Because, like, again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, a lot of what an AI can output is it's the old garbage in, garbage out. Like, you need to have a good operator on the end. And a lot of people's theories are kind of based on this idea that your average, like, we could just go and take someone from the mall, sit them down in front of a computer, and now they're hacking Fortune 500 companies with zero-day exploits. Right. And that is not a reality that I see coming anytime soon.
Yeah. Aaron, anything to add to that?
I don't want to speak too rudely of Anthropic, but they need to improve some of the reports. Some of them are too heavy on the marketing side. I dug into an earlier one where they said, here's open source projects that we contributed to patch these bugs. I could never find any evidence of them contributing to those. So it felt like, hey, you said it's on GitHub. I looked, shouldn't I find the bug fix there? Why is it not there? How did you contribute to it, but there's no patch? So I think if they're able to collaborate more with security organizations, they're going to meet our needs a lot better, and they're going to be able to better speak to those actual vulnerabilities. And I think that's also going to contribute a little bit to Marcus's problem too, where with Mythos, they are working with security companies, and those companies are also going to say, hey, this is why this isn't interesting, or hey, here's this thing that actually is interesting. Because we already did that a lot with like vulnerability prioritization within Expel. Like, not every vulnerability is actually interesting. So spending $13,000 on a vulnerability can be a huge waste of money. What you're really interested in is a small set of vulnerabilities. The way that I like to talk about it is like house shopping. If you're an attacker, there's a certain class of vulnerability that you're actually interested in. You know what you're looking for, you know, maybe even the target. You have a lot of these things that you need to set up with your needs and to run your attack. So I think until like that starts getting narrowed down and focusing on things that have real significance, I think that's when I'll be interested, I think.
Yeah. What about we'll throw this one up here. What about protection? Has Gen AI, how has Gen AI been useful in terms of protection for defenders? How has it been deployed? Maybe what are some areas where it needs to improve? Like, what have you guys seen on that front? Aaron?
I've personally have enjoyed using it for reverse engineering. There's a few good tools out there that I've really benefited a lot from, such as Rimnux, the Linux distro. They made an MCP where you're able to plug that into Claude, and Claude's able to use any of the tools on the Linux distro. And I've had great success with that and creating custom tools with it, where I'm able to give it a binary and it can run down the analysis and give me a lot of leads, and I'm able to then confirm it. So I'm really optimistic about where that can go and how it can take a lot of that work off of other analysts. It can sometimes be a mixed bag based off of what models you're using or what tools you're making available for it. It can also hallucinate at times and be overconfident in its assessments. So there's enough to be cautious about. But I think there's a lot of good opportunities in terms of automating a lot of things as defenders, whether that's helping triage some alerts, whether that's helping collect information and make it more easily accessible. I think there's a great way that we can use it.
For sure. Marcus, any thoughts to add on to Aaron's answer there?
I don't know if they necessarily add on to the answer. This is my personal experience with using it. I've found it quite useful for what I call, I don't have a good word for it, but basically the work that no one wants to do, right?
Yeah.
A lot of our work is
work.
Yeah. A lot of our work is full of just stuff that no one wants to do.
Sure.
And AI models are good at some of those things. Like quite often I'll get malware samples where it's just like, this doesn't need a malware reverse engineer to reverse engineer. Like this is like, it's very like terrible. It's poorly built. Like an AI can one shot this in maybe a single prompt. But on the flip side, as Aaron did say, AI models do hallucinate. And you kind of run into this problem where you need someone who knows what they're doing to know when the model is hallucinating. And I find that person has to be a lot higher up than maybe the person who would need to do the work. When I say higher up, I mean in skill level. Because if like we have someone at the same level as the AI model is at reverse engineering, then in order to validate the model's work, they are going to have to go and reverse that sample themselves and compare notes. Whereas as you get more and more senior, you can just look at something and be like, I just know off the top of my head, that is not right. Like that is not a correct assessment for that class of attack or that specific threat actor. And that's where I find it really useful when the hallucinations, they exist, but I can just be like, no, that is just not consistent with anything I've seen. And then I can maybe like dig in a little just to check, okay, maybe is the AI seeing something that I'm not? And that takes a lot less time than actually going and reversing the entire sample.
Yeah. I heard one person describe it as like having an intern, where you're able to give them the more simple analysis. Because even in one of the ones I saw recently, my LLM got thrown off because of the future date stamps used by Microsoft for compile dates, where it's like, oh, hey, this is very suspicious. But if you know, like Microsoft uses these intentionally, but it takes that knowledge to be able to say, okay, hey, this is what Microsoft is doing. So there's a lot of those weird things that come up just because of the last 40, 50 years of computer history that end up getting baked into all of these binaries that can easily throw off a LLM.
Is it an intern that uses lots of emojis? Is that that's what I'm hearing based on the conversation. So cool. I think honestly that's a wrap, I think, on most of the questions. Let me do this. Any final thoughts from either of you around everything that we've kind of discussed over the theme of sort of AI malware, fact versus fiction? Anything else that hasn't been said that needs to be said before we hop off? Or have we touched on everything adequately?
In my mind, the biggest thing when we talk about malware is we often talk about it abstracted from the rest of the ecosystem. But when you have malware, you really have a delivery system that comes into play. You have command and control infrastructure that comes into play. You have people that come into play in the whole life cycle. So it ends up becoming a really complex ecosystem. And just being able to write malware isn't enough to be a huge threat. You have to have delivery mechanisms. You have to do supply chain compromise. You have to do a lot of these things in order to deploy your malware. So so there's a lot that prevents just anybody from getting into the industry. And it's important to recognize that, because I think some of those are natural barriers that prevent AI or malware in general from going out of control.
Yeah. Anything to add to that, Marcus?
No, I think that's a super succinct point and a pretty good note to end the show on, I think.
I agree. If I have learned anything today, it's that we're not grabbing at random people out of the mall to be attackers or defenders. We still need humans. So
absolutely.
There you go. All right. Thanks to everybody for tuning in today. Again, follow us on LinkedIn for news about more of these that are coming up. Subscribe to our channels. Aaron, Marcus, appreciate y'all sharing your wisdom with us and taking our anxiety levels just a little bit lower. So much appreciated. And we'll catch y'all next time.